Let's talk about salt.
Salt. We all know what it is. It's this white crystalline substance, scientifically known as sodium chloride, that we use to season food. The taste salty is one of the 5 basic taste descriptors. Where did salt derive its name from? The root word of salt is sal, which is Latin for, you guessed it, salt. Sal is the root word for many other foodstuff as well. One of them being salad, which was derived from sal, then salata, which means salted, because vegetables were seasoned in a brine during Roman times.
Salt was valuable during medieval times, and many idioms and expressions now revolve around salt. One expression is above the salt, which refers to a person of high social standing. Conversely, below the salt refers to a person of low social standing. This interesting expression came about from the medieval custom of placing a large salt cellar in the middle of a long dining table. Prestige guests were seated above the salt cellar, while guests of less prestige were seated below the salt cellar. This custom likely came about from the high cost and prestige value of salt during the Middle Ages. For example, Eunice would be considered someone who sat below the salt.
Hey!
For a long time, salt has been used by different communities of people around the world for ritualistic, medicinal, and seasoning purposes. In the South African tribe of Nyakusa, the start of a girl's puberty is treated with a ritualistic medication called undumila. This term derives from another word meaning to bite, to be painful. This medicine consists of several symbolic and ritualistic substances: a root, a funnel or cup, and salt. The biting of the root and eating of the salt is meant to represent copulation. Some tribe women believe that if a girl is not given undumila, she will be barren and will be constantly on her period. Along with being ritually important, salt is also socially significant. Salt is extremely important to Russian culture. Traditionally, when honored, respected, or important guests arrive at a place, they are presented with a loaf of bread and salt on a tray as a sign of hospitality. The bread and salt consists of a specially baked round bread with a small salt holder placed on top. Usually, the bread is decorated and covered with an embroidered towel. If you are presented with bread and salt, you are meant to break off a piece of bread, dip it in salt, and eat it happily. Do not refuse, it would greatly offend the host. This is because bread and salt are both very revered and valued in Russian culture. Bread represents wealth, for since ancient times, salt has been believed to offer protection from evil forces. The bread and salt tradition in Russia has been around for a very long time. In the Middle Ages, people believed that if enemies shared bread and salt with each other, they would become friends.
Much of how gourmet salt is marketed these days focuses on the origin of the salt and how it was harvested. Saltworks, one of the first and largest gourmet salt companies in the world, markets the French salt fleur de sel as the result of a cool evening wind gently blowing across the surface of salt ponds in Gironde, France. They carry on to describe how these paper thin crystals blossom quickly and are gathered using traditional wooden tools.
This is fleur de sel, a hand-harvested sea salt from the Gironde region of France, long considered by chefs as the quintessential gourmet salt. The premium crystals are hand-raked from the top of the salt ponds, where they retain their delicate crystal structure and natural moisture content.
Much of the selling point here is the origin and methods in which the salt was harvested, implying as if it is rare and requires careful practice and procedures to be gathered. This appeals to the gourmet aspect of the salt, as it was advertised and marketed as an exotic product that is more luxury than daily necessity. Funnily enough, the only mention of flavor or taste, arguably the most important aspect of the salt, is that it has a crisp, balanced flavor. Such are linguistic fillers or empty adjectives that don't really say anything about the flavor of the salt itself. To add on to the overall image of sophistication and exoticism in the sea salt revolution, salt experts are replicating the wine appreciation movement, and restaurants in America, Dubai, and Sicily employ sommeliers, a play on the word sommelier, to advise diners of salt pairings for their dishes.
Created using Powtoon.